themselves in shop windows as they feel their skull beneath their skin. They thought they would shed the worst of youth and gain the best of age, but time drifted over them, sand burying their old hopes. Mine is a very different story, but it all turns out the same. One of the reasons I sit here in the sand, hating what I've become, is the boy. Such a long time, such a long search, lying to clerks and parish priests to get the names of children living in the town and suburbs, making up ridiculous aliases, then crying in a motel room and wondering if I would ever find you. You were so well hidden. The way the young prince in fairy tales is hidden from the ogre. In a trunk, in a thorny grove, in a dull place of meager enchantment. Little hidden Sammy. But the ogre always finds the child, doesn't he? For here you are. If you are reading this, dear Sammy, don't despise me. I am a poor old man. I never meant you any harm. Don't remember me just as a childhood demon, though I have been that. I have lain in your room at night and heard your breathing rough in the air. I have whispered in your ear when you were dreaming. I am what my father always said I was. I am a freak, a monster. And even as I write this, forgive me, I am watching you. You were the one playing baseball with your friends, as the sunlight comes and goes through your golden hair. The sunburned one, clearly the boss, the one the other boys resent but love. It's good to see how much they love you. You are up to bat, but hold out your hand because something has annoyed you. An itch, perhaps, as just now your hand scratches wildly at the base of your blonde skull. And after this sudden dervish, you shout and return to the game. Boys, you don't mean to be wonders, but you are. You haven't noticed me. Why would you? To you, I am just the friend in the sandbox, scribbling away. Let's try an experiment. I'll wave my hand to you. There. See? You just put down your bat to wave back at me, a smile cocked across your freckled face, arrogant but innocent of everything around you. All the years and trouble it took for me to be here. You know nothing. Fear nothing. When you look at me, you see another little boy like you. A boy, yes, that's me. I have so much to explain, but first you must believe. Inside this wretched body, I grow old. But outside, in every part of me but my mind and soul, I grow young. There's no name for what I am. Doctors do not understand me. My very cells wriggle the wrong way in the slides, divide and echo back their ignorance. But I think of myself as having an ancient curse, the one that Hamlet put upon Polonius before he punctured the old man like a balloon. That, like a crab, I go backwards. For even now as I write, I look to be a boy of 12. At nearly 60, there is sand in my knickers and mud across the brim of my cap. I have a smile like the core of an apple. Yet once I seemed a handsome man of 22 with a gun and a gas mask. And before that, a man in his 30s trying to find his lover in an earthquake. And a hard-working 40 and a terrified 50, and older as we approach my birth. Anyone can grow old, my father always said through the bouquet of his cigar smoke. But I burst into the world as if from the other end of life, and the days since then have been ones of physical reversion, of erasing the wrinkles around my eyes, darkening the white and then the gray in my hair, bringing younger muscle to my arms and dew to my skin, growing tall, and then shrinking into the hairless, harmless boy who scrawls this pale confession. A mooncalf, a changeling, a thing so out of joint with the human race that I have stood in the street and hated every man in love, every widow in her long weeds, every child dragged along by a loving dog. Drunk on gin, I have sworn and spat at passing strangers who took me for the opposite of what I was inside, an adult when I was a child, a boy now that I am an old man. I have learned compassion since then, and pity passers-by a little, as I, more than anyone, know what they have yet to live through. I was born in San Francisco in September 1871. My mother was from a wealthy Carolina family, raised in the genteel area of South Park, originally planned for Southern gentry, but, with the loss of the war, open to anyone with enough wealth to throw an oyster supper. By then, the distinction among people in my city was no longer money. The blue-silver clay of the Comstock had made too many beggars into fat, rich men. So society became divided into two classes, the chivalry and the chivalry. My mother was of the first, my father of the wretched second. No surprise that when they met in the swimming pool of the Del Monte Hotel, staring at each other through the fine net that separated the sexes, they fell in love. They met again that very night on the balcony away from her chaperones, and I am told my mother wore the latest Paris fashion. A live beetle, iridescently winged, attached to her dress with a golden chain. "I'll kiss you," my father whispered to her, shivering with love. The beetle, green and metal, scampered on her bare shoulder, then tried to take flight. "I'll do it. I'll kiss you this moment," he insisted, but did nothing. So she took him by the handles of his mutton chops and brought his lips to hers. The beetle tugged at its leash and landed in her hair. Her heart exploded. Throughout the winter of 1870, the Dane and the debutante met on the sly, finding secluded spots in the new Golden Gate Park to kiss and grope, the nearby bison grumbling in their corrals. But like a clamoring vine, lust must lead somewhere or whither. And so it led to this, the detonation of Blossom Rock. It was a city celebration, and Mother somehow slipped away from Grandmother and South Park to meet her Danish lover, her Asgar, and watch the great event. It was to be the greatest explosion yet in the city's history, the dynamiting of Blossom Rock, a shoal in the Golden Gate that had been shattering hulls for a century. And while optimistic fishermen prepared for what they assumed would be the best catch of the century, pessimistic scientists warned of a great earth wave that would roll across the continent, wreaking havoc on every standing structure. The populace should flee. Did they flee? Only to the highest hills for the best view of the end of the world. So my parents found themselves among the thousands on Telegraph Hill, and afraid of being recognized, they rushed inside the old heliograph station for privacy. I imagine my mother sitting in her pink silk dress in the old operator's chair, pressing her fingers against the window and clearing an oval from the window's dust. There she saw the crowds in their black wool looking out to sea, even as she felt my father's fingers upon her lace. She saw the young boys chucking oyster shells at the tallest of the stovepipe hats. "My love," her lover whispered, undoing her rows of buttons. She did not turn to take his kisses, but shivered at the sensation of her skin. She had rarely been naked since the day she was born, not even in the bath, having always worn a long white nightgown into the warm water. As my father-to-be shucked her like a rare oyster, she wriggled like one, too, chilled and weeping.